It's the Draft Storm Watch. Flag plants on the radar. Boop, boop, boop. In this pre-training camp episode, we are planting our flags on the players we believe will shine in 2025. We'll each share our top 3 bold picks to watch as we head into the offseason grind. Then, right before the season kicks off, we'll revisit these choices to see if we're still sticking to our guns or adjusting based on how camp unfolds. It's all about tracking potential breakout stars early and staying sharp through the final stretch. Producer! Welcome to the Fantasy Forecast with Grindberg and bigz and Schulte right here on Fantasy Sports Advice Network. We are here to talk about some ball players who are getting ready to go to training camp and see if they can't eke out a job as a starter in the NFL and on your fantasy rosters. Mike, Zach, what are we doing, guys? How are we?
Doing awesome, bigz. It's headed into the dog days of summer and redraft season. It's starting to heat up, really, and not just the temperature, but like what we're doing and what we're talking about in fantasy football. Drafts are starting to kind of be talked about. You're getting your prep in, and that's what we're here to do. We're getting you settled in. We're going to be talking about some flag plants, and we're going to talk about guys from all over the map, guys that you're going to find in your later rounds, your middle rounds, and your early rounds that we are all flag planting to get you your edge in your fantasy leagues. Now, Schulte, how you doing, my man?
Hey, we're doing good, man. We got a couple weeks until training camps are kicking off, and from there, we're going to get preseason, and before we know it, real football.
Exactly. And before the training camps kick off, we're going to talk about our flag plants, and then we'll revisit like we mentioned. So, bigz, why don't you start us off with one of your first flag plants of the season?
My first flag plant of the season. So I started the drumbeat on a couple of different platforms for this guy over the course of time. I didn't remember when I was doing the show sheet how much I've talked about him here on the forecast specifically, but I know that over on the Dynasty Pulse I've talked about him quite a bit. And it is a little bit different in redraft than it is in Dynasty, but I still have my eye on Tennessee rookie for the Las Vegas Raiders, Dante Thornton. Now, we're talking about a guy who's 6'4" plus. He's brushing up against 6'5". He's 215 pounds for now, and he runs a 4.3 40. He's got elite speed. He's got elite size. He is basically, they used a cookie cutter out of the mold of Calvin Johnson and came up with Dante Thornton. The negative feedback in the draft since the draft has been that Thornton was a 4th round wide receiver. Those don't often hit, especially in their rookie years. Number 2 was the fact that when he was at Tennessee, he ran a very, very limited route tree. He ran a lot of go routes, some posts, and about 40% curls. So they weren't asking him to do a whole lot. So the book on his last couple of years at Tennessee was kind of open. What is this guy capable of? And if you go back and you watch the tape from his days at Oregon, he was originally an Oregon recruit. And those are the guys that we like to track because Oregon knows what they're doing. Similar to guys who go to Ohio State for Brian Hartline as wide receivers and then enter the transfer portal later. They were recruited to that system because that system liked what they saw. And Dante Thornton was recruited by a program that has put out Troy Franklin, that has put out Tez Johnson, who's an elite route runner, even though he probably won't find success. Dante Thornton was recruited into that program, and in his tape, he flashes very, very good route running ability and a diverse route tree. So you add all that stuff up, and then you start watching what the Raiders have been doing in OTAs and mandatory minicamp. And Dante Thornton has been running with the first-team wide receivers. That means that he is going to be out there as the X receiver, which was a need for Las Vegas that we knew going into the offseason. He's going to be out there with Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, as another option. And when you talk about a quarterback who has downfield ability like Geno Smith, and the fact that he's going to have 2 wide receivers on the outside that are both 4-3 burners, that's going to leave a lot of open field in a lot of zone coverages, because you have to account for everybody, especially those 2 studs underneath. And Dante Thornton has shown that he can take the top off and absolutely burn cornerbacks, which means that having the 3rd most accurate downfield quarterback is going to just be a benefit to him. So what I'm going to be doing is watching through training camp how they're using him. And then into the preseason games, he's going to be getting a lot of run with Aiden O'Connell, because Geno Smith's not going to get a lot of snaps. But I'm going to be watching Dante Thornton's snap share. And if Dante Thornton is sitting out week 3 of the preseason games, I'm all in on him being a starter and an absolute stud to kick off the season.
Stud. And you're flag planting him in your lineup. You think he's going to make the roster, and it's going to happen here, folks. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of talk about Jack Besh, coming in, but he plays a different position, and all the steam from what I'm hearing as well from you, bigz, is Dante Thornton is the guy that you kind of want to be under the radar looking in your draft. So anything to add to that, Schulte?
No, I think it's a great late round flyer here. I mean, coming out of OTAs and stuff, the hype from, and we've seen Twitter hype on him, which, grain of salt on that. But most importantly, coaches are talking about this guy, and he's getting some run over Jack Besh. And yeah, I mean, that's to be duly noted. And I'm definitely going to take some shots here.
Awesome. I'm going to talk about a guy that I'm going to take a shot on, and him and another rookie quarterback I'm pretty high on. But I'm going to talk about not a second-year quarterbacks. These guys are essentially JJ McCarthy is a rookie coming into this year, and I think he's got all the tools, the situation to finish as a top 10 quarterback in 2025. So I'm flag planting him as that. I'm flag planting him, quietly coming in with Kevin O'Connell as one of the best quarterback developers in the NFL. His system has turned, an average below average quarterbacks into like starters, like, Sam Darnold last year, Nick Mullins a couple of years ago when he started for a stretch of games. He could just kind of fit into a system and, flourish. And that's what Kevin O'Connell does. Sam Darnold, who bounced between teams for years, was considered a career backup by many. And O'Connell, look what he did last year. Imagine what he can do with a blue chip kind of prospect like JJ McCarthy. He has some rushing upside, the natural talent, the efficiency that Darnold never had at Michigan. His consistency ranked in the 90th percentile, better in play metrics, even in a low volume offense. And now you're giving him a loaded offensive weapons like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson in their running game, is solid veterans that are going to be able to protect him in pass protection. And that O-line has been revamped. So I'm looking for JJ McCarthy to come in and have the tools to come out right away. Maybe it may not be fast. It'll be a slower start, but near midseason with the tools he has and in that system, I think he's going to emerge here and finish as a top 10 quarterback. So I'm flag planning JJ McCarthy this year as one of my guys.
I 100% agree. We were huge on him going into the draft last year. He combines the second highest velocity of a quarterback throwing the ball at the combine with the ability to run, which he showcased in his early career in Michigan when they would bring him in on rushing downs to run a wildcat type offense. The only thing that is missing from JJ McCarthy's game at this point is time on task. He doesn't have the reps that you would expect from somebody because he was 20 years old being drafted. He missed a whole lot of time last year due to injury. So this is going to be his camp. He's going to have to show the Minnesota Vikings that he's the unmitigated leader of this team in the huddle. He's going to have some reps in the preseason. And I think he's a do everything on the field kind of quarterback, and a Kevin O'Connell system fully wheels up on JJ McCarthy. I am snatching him everywhere.
Awesome. Schulte, what do you got for us as one of your guys you're kind of flag planning into this offseason, into training camp, man?
Yeah, so the theme of my picks tonight is rookies, man. I got three rookie picks I like in redraft, and for me, first up is Brashard Smith. Now, in the dynasty circles, this dude's gained some serious steam. And well deserved. I mean, we've got a converted wide receiver playing running back, and his 1 year at running back, he was pretty dang dominant at SMU with 1,300 yards and I want to say 18 touchdowns. 4.3 speed, great vision, great elusiveness. So some of those, it's like a kind of like a yak wide receiver skills bringing over into the running game, but he's got the vision to go with it. You can get this guy about running back 66 right now in ADP for redraft leagues. And you look at that range of running backs down there. I mean, we're so deep that these are all handcuffs. Like, you're relying on an injury, in some guys' cases, maybe 2 injuries to get to some relevance here. But I'm pretty confident Brashard Smith can carve out a role this season without an injury ahead of him on the depth chart. We've seen Pacheco have like one solid season catching with 49 targets, 44 receptions, but only 5.5 yards per catch, which is just like, I mean, that's pretty okay. So Pacheco's just not a standout receiving back. In this Chiefs offense, it's almost like they had that run with Jerick McKinnon, and that offense was clicking when they had that McKinnon role going. And I see Brashard Smith stepping into that. If you look at that 2022 season, he had Jerick McKinnon. He had 71 targets, 56 catches for 9.14 yards per catch, and limited rushing attempts. But with those 56 catches, he found himself as an RB20 finish. So if we're going to slot Brashard Smith into that role, which I'm pretty confident he's going to get a chance, because you're going to be able to line this guy up in the slot. He's got the wide receiver experience, so I think they're going to be able to really move this guy around a lot and get him touches. Running back 66 is going to be an absolute bargain on this guy. So don't miss out on Brashard Smith. And on Twitter here, we had @EliteDrafters posted that Brashard Smith was first in yards per route run among the 2025 running back class. Patrick Mahomes was number 1 in pass attempts behind the line of scrimmage. So yeah, you're gonna be given some shots behind the line of scrimmage here to Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, like that's part of their offense. But do not count Brashard Smith out. He's got the skills. He's gonna get the opportunity, and he doesn't need an injury ahead of him to make an impact this year.
Gimme
never gets, but you're gonna have to reach for him in a lot of dynasty leagues right now. It looks like it doesn't sound like it's going to be a reach anymore when you look at the upside and the potential, and you outlined a lot of really great points there. The Jerick McKinnon role is up for grabs, and they desperately need somebody that can take some of that pressure off Mahomes out of that backfield outside of a bruising back right in the middle. So I like that call. Biggs, what is your next guy, man?
So my next guy is somebody that I've talked about before. And the whole point of this show is we are watching people in training camp and watching what they are able to put together to jump themselves in positions on their teams. They're not the starters right away. They don't have the top 10 draft capital, etc. And I'm talking about undrafted free agent running back from the New England Patriots, Lan Larison. Now, I've gone into so much about this guy, 1,400 yards rushing at UC Davis last year, adding 800 yards receiving as a running back, 20-plus touchdowns. He's a tough rodeo rider. But one of the things that I loved was his landing spot in New England, the investment that they made in him as a UDFA. And he's a Mike Vrabel guy. He's going to get dirty. He did not allow a quarterback pressure in pass blocking. He's going to be able to be on the field on pass downs. He's buried on the depth chart. He's got Ramondre Stevenson in front of him. He's got TreVeyon Henderson with huge draft capital in front of him. He's got Antonio Gibson in front of him. But he's going to be the do-it-all kind of guy that works on special teams, blocks in the backfield for his quarterback, is hard-nosed, and just does it all for Mike Vrabel, which is going to earn him playing time at some point. I don't know when that's going to be. I don't know if that's going to be 2025. I don't know if that's going to be 2026. But at some point, he's going to make this 53-man roster. They're not going to expose him on the practice squad, because somebody's going to take him. And he does have the potential to start from day one. Now, during the pre-draft process, he hurt himself in the FCS playoffs last year. A month after surgery, he ran a 4.36 at his pro day. Imagine if he had been fully healthy. Imagine if he had been able to prep for the combine, not rehab an injury. Imagine if he had gotten 4th-round draft capital as a running back. More people would be talking about him. So I'm not necessarily drafting him. I'm especially in redraft. I'm keeping my eye on him. I'm going to click that little star by him and put him on my watch list. But throughout this preseason, I'm going to be seeing what the Patriots think of him based on the reports coming out of camp. And so far, every beat writer has been talking about Lan. Every beat writer for the New England Patriots is talking about the fact that he's going to make this 53-man roster. He's beloved by everybody, and it's starting to spread from just me to everybody in Patriots camp, and now all of you are going to get on the Lan Larison train, and I'm happy for it.
Yeah, man, hey, love what you said. He had a great landing spot.
Whoa.
I love it.
Larisoning spot. Oh, no, that didn't work.
That didn't work. But hey, I like the call bigz because you opened my eyes. I got him in a couple dynasty rosters late, just taking some, dart throws, stabs at him, and like you said, he could. He's an injury away of making that starting lineup essentially if he makes the 53-man roster, right? So a lot of
crazier things have happened.
Exactly. All right, I'm going to talk about a guy that's a little more known, and I'm just talking about a flag plan here because I've been high on Drake London all offseason. Drake London.
Who's this now?
I never heard of him.
Exactly. But, he was close to his full-on breakout the last 2 seasons, but now I think everything is lined up. So I'm flag planning him as finishing as one of my top 5 wide receivers as in 2025. I just think that with happened at the end of last year, Arthur Smith leaving, Michael Penix in the lineup, and things showed a lot of, progression. He was commanding a 37% target share on his routes when Penix was in the lineup, 23 fantasy points per game. He would have finished as the wide receiver 2 overall throughout the whole season if he would have sustained that level of production, if he had a more competent quarterback throwing them the ball at the start of the year. He had great late season chemistry with Penix, top 5 target hog. He finished with a 27% target share last year, amongst the 4th highest of all wide receivers. He dominated from the slot. His 2.7 yards per route run from the slot ranked 1st in the NFL among receivers with at least 50 targets. His improved quarterback efficiency last year and headed into this year, I think, is going to be good for him. And then very little competition for targets. They didn't make any major changes outside of, Penix coming in and becoming a full-time guy, so it's a very similar roster what they had last year. So I just think London is going to come in and dominate this year. So I'm flag planning him as a top 5 wide receiver and a guy that I'm willing to reach for in some redrafts, especially when he can be at the corner of the 2nd round, early 3rd. I love that spot for Drake London.
I see London. I see France. I don't see Kyle Pitts. Oh, wait.
All right, Schulte, who's your guy?
My second guy here is also fairly well known, but he's also a rookie who is coming in with top 10 draft capital, and that is Tetairoa McMillan. And you can get him right now ADP at about wide receiver 28 in redraft. And I think my flag plan here is he's going to be 10 to 15 by the season's end. So that's some solid value. He's got back-to-back 1,300-yard seasons to end his college career. All 3 years, he had 8+ touchdowns. It's going to step instantly into the number 1 receiver role for the Panthers. And when you look at top 10 wide receivers drafted, going back to 2021, every single one has topped 100 targets. And now we've seen a couple of down seasons of dudes. I don't know, Rome Odunze last year, but even then, pretty solid overall. But yeah, all these dudes who get this draft capital are essentially slotted in for 100 targets. And he has not much other competition on that list. I know we got old man Thielen still trotting it out there. They got Xavier Legette's going to be maybe a decent wide receiver too. And we've got the Cokeheads fired up for some Jalen Coker, but I just have zero doubts about this guy stepping in and just being that guy on the outside for Bryce Young. He's got a real weapon here in Tet for the first time in his career, man. And after Bryce Young finished 2024 on with a promising end of the season, I really like this connection, and look at training camp to see them grow together. We've already had some good reports out of OTAs of him making plays. He's just a dude he's highlight reel catches. He's a nightmare matchup at 6'4", and he's going to be able to just get those contested balls that Bryce Young hasn't really had that guy before that he can trust to just say, you know what, screw it. I'm going to McMillan. Like, that's just never been a thing Bryce has had in Carolina. I think that's going to pay huge dividends. We've talked a lot in fantasy circles about young quarterbacks finally getting that piece at receiver, and I think we're going to see it here. So look out for McMillan, man. I think, like I said, he's going to end up about wide receiver 10 to 15.
Yeah, man.
I agree. And somebody did a prompt on Twitter the other day that said, "Who is your sneaky person to jump into the top 12 as a wide receiver 1?" And he was my pick, Tetairoa McMillan. Don't call him Ted. Call him T-Mac or Tetairoa.
Yeah, I like that call. I just think that, Canales had his licks of what it looked like to have a Mike Evans in his roster, and he sees like a younger version of him who can get up and do all those things that Mike Evans did. And Bryce Young definitely needs somebody that he could see over his offensive line downfield, and Tetairoa is that guy. So I really like that call, Schultz. Now, bigz, before we get into your spotlight guy, let's hear from our sponsor here, Schultz, the Fantasy Sports Advice Network.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.
Yeah, go there. Sign up. Get a pro account. Get some merch. A beautiful Fantasy Forecast hat. Join as a pro, and you'll qualify for our Jersey Leagues coming up. We'll have way more information about those coming up in August. And, yeah, it's a good place. It's a good time. Love it.
Love it. Love everybody being there, and look out for more stuff on the horizon from us at the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. Now, bigz, let's get into your spotlight, and Schultz, let's hear that whistle.
All right, my spotlight, I'm looking at the Miami Dolphins, and in 2023, they had 353 rushes from their top few running backs. Raheem Mostert had about 200 rushes, 204, 208, something like that. And Devon Achane about 100. They were working him in as a rookie. He also added, I want to say, about 40 targets. And they had 356 rushes in 2024. So pretty parallel, 353, 356 rushes. But the roles flipped. Devon Achane took 200 of those carries, and Raheem Mostert took only about 100. I think it was at 85. Well, what happened in the offseason? The Miami Dolphins moved on from Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, and they are going to be giving the reins as the RB2 in that backfield to Jaylen Wright. Jaylen Wright had sub 4.4 speed coming out of the University of Tennessee. He was drafted in the 4th round, which isn't great, but it isn't terrible as a running back. And he's going to insert himself into a very similar role as what Raheem Mostert had last year, with some upside to be the primary ball carrier if anything were to happen to Devon Achane. And let's face it, Devon Achane he played in 17 games last year, but he doesn't have the frame that elicits confidence in an injury-free career. He already missed time as a rookie with injury. So what am I looking at from Jaylen Wright? Well, Jaylen Wright is bigger than Devon Achane. And if Devon Achane is working between the 20s and getting his 70 targets and his 200 carries, they're going to be pulling him at the goal line. And what did Raheem Mostert do in 2023? He had 18 rushing touchdowns. So in a similar type of offensive scheme, with Jaylen Wright getting 100+ carries and getting 20 opportunities at the goal line or more, I think Jaylen Wright is going to have a much better year than we think. And then you add the potential for Devon Achane to get broken. I love Jaylen Wright. I'm targeting him in the very later rounds everywhere I am. You don't give up on upside. You don't give up on talent. And you track somebody as they gain opportunity. And I think this is going to be the opportunity for Jaylen Wright. And we will see it all come out in camp reports and in the preseason games. So he's my guy.
Love it. I mean, and that kind of surprises me because you were pretty high on Ollie Gordon, headed into the draft and stuff like that. So do you have any sort of thoughts on Ollie and that offense based off of what you saw from him?
I think if there wasn't a situation where they had Achane in the building, I think you have Ollie Gordon as the bruiser between the tackles and Jaylen Wright working as the satellite. But I think that 6th-round draft capital for Ollie Gordon doesn't help him very much, and that just creates a quicker path to the field for Jaylen Wright. And again, we're watching in camp. So if we go into camp and Ollie Gordon just absolutely trashes everybody in that backfield, like he did a couple years ago at Oklahoma State, then all bets are off. But that's what we're doing. We're watching these camp battles and stuff. And as it stands, Jaylen Wright is going to be the second running back. But those opportunities that are going to come to him as the RB2 are going to be more on the big bruising Raheem Mostert side than they are going to be on the satellite-y Devon Achane side.
Gotcha. All right, Schulte, let's get into my spotlight. So in this show, we kind of have some top tier, mid tier, and lower tier guys that we're kind of flag planning as guys that we want you to keep your eye on and radars up. And my guy here, I'm going bold here. I'm going real high here. I'm going wide receiver 1 high here, guys, and that's Malik Nabers, and I'm flag planning him. I think
Malik. Is this now?
Yeah, exactly. Unheard of. No, seriously though. Malik Nabers, I just think that he is going to finish as the wide receiver 1. I think, heading into last year, bigz, you and I were so high on him. And then look what happened. And now what we're looking for is year 2 progression and a situation that I think is just better for him. He had league leading usage last year. He had a very high target rate, 29.5%, most targets per game in 11 in 2024. He had unmatched opportunity, especially for a rookie. He's got elite weekly floor. He scored at least 8 PPR points in every game he played, a rare blend of consistency and volume among top wide receivers. He's got that big boom play potential. He had 29 deep targets last year, but only caught 7 of them because of how bad that quarterback situation was on deep balls. Now he's going to get a complete upgrade at quarterback, no matter who's throwing him the deep ball, whether it's Russell Wilson for maybe a handful of games. His accuracy rate was 68% last year, 3rd best in the league, which is a major upgrade than what he had last year. And potentially if Jackson Dart does end up taking on that starter role, at some point in the season, he throws a nice deep ball as well. So I'm looking for him to have all the opportunity. They didn't bring any sort of competition in the wide receiver room or any sort of target competition whatsoever. So I just really think that this situation here for Malik Nabers has got all the writing on the wall. And if he could stay healthy for a whole 17-game schedule, he is my wide receiver 1, therefore flag planning him above guys like your CeeDee Lambs and your Justin Jeffersons and your Jamar Chases.
God, that for the fact that he fell to me at the 203 in the Scott Fish Bowl last weekend, I really hope that you're right on that. He was not my plan. I wasn't planning on going Jaden Daniels, Malik Nabers to start, although I don't hate it. I was planning on going with Trey McBride or Brock Bowers or Ashton Genty and then Travis Hunter. But like Mike Tyson said, every time you think you have a plan, you get punched in the mouth. And that's what happened to me. And I got Malik Nabers at the 203. And let's hope for my sake in the Scott Fish Bowl, he is the wide receiver 1.
I don't necessarily think that getting Malik Nabers there is getting punched in the mouth. I'm going to be honest.
Well, it wasn't Travis Hunter because Bo snatched him at the 201, and that was my big dog pick.
Your big dog pick. All right, Schulte, now let's talk about your big dog pick and run your video.
All right, for me, it is a dude that I was super high on pre-draft in the pre-draft process, and that is TreVeyon Henderson. This is just an absolutely explosive athlete who is a home run hitter. He can score from anywhere on the field. He can do it all, man. Like as far as playing running back goes, this guy can do it. A lot of people have given him the Jahmyr Gibbs comp, which I don't necessarily hate. I mean, great out of the backfield. You can go with the limited touches and still be super efficient and successful. But I'm flag planting that this guy is going to overtake this job and be a workhorse, right? Like as the season progresses, he is going to take over for Ramondre. Ramondre's probably going to start early on. But yeah, man, TreVeyon Henderson, the talent is undeniable. He's going to force his way on the field. He had one fumble in his entire college career. And look, this guy's pass protection is absolutely elite. It's something we don't really talk about a lot in fantasy world because you're not scoring points doing it. However, Ramondre's third down days are done. They are over. Third down comes, TreVeyon's on the field. Not only is he a fantastic pass catcher, but the pass blocking is going to be something you're not going to be able to pull him off the field because he's so good at it. And Ramondre he's posted a really nice season receiving wise with 69 catches, but
nice.
There wasn't much competition in the backfield, and he kind of lived off of screens and dump offs. And even in that season, he had a 39.8 success percentage on those catches. So just not a super efficient pass catcher. He had a lot of opportunity. So bring in TreVeyon Henderson, you're going to get him that ball in space, and he is absolutely going to eat in this role. And like I said, I think that role is going to expand to some early down work and most of the running back work in general here in this offense. He's got the pass catching chops, like I said, it just blows Ramondre out of the water. And when you're looking at pass catchers in Josh McDaniels' offenses in the past, especially in his time with the Patriots, we've seen guys like Kevin Falk, Danny Woodhead, Shane Vereen all succeed and post solid receiving numbers. And then that leads me to James White, who has been the most notable receiving back for Josh McDaniels. He led the team in targets and receptions in 2018. He had 87 catches in 18. He had 72 catches in 2019. And as a whole, running backs are often top 3 in targets in a Josh McDaniels offense. And Josh McDaniels has not had a running back even in the same stratosphere of talent as TreVeyon Henderson. So I'm putting my chips in on this guy's talent, the opportunity in a rising offense, and an offensive coordinator who knows how to utilize backs in the receiving game.
Yeah, shout out California Golden Bear legend Shane Vereen. And there is a point. I like that you brought up another Patriots running back, and I brought up a Patriots running back, and we both talked about their pass blocking abilities. And there is a point down the road where the two guys in that Patriots backfield are going to be TreVeyon and Lan, and it's going to be glorious.
Oh, I could absolutely see that. I've really liked rostering Ramondre over the last few years. He's been a guy I liked, and I mean he's burned me, but he's also done really well for me. But
and to your point, in the Josh McDaniels offense, let's go back to 2022 when Josh Jacobs had 64 targets.
I'd say about 60 catches somewhere in that ballpark.
And Amir Abdullah had 32 targets.
So Josh McDaniels is going to get the running back the ball in the air. He's done it his whole career. And yeah, I mean, Josh Jacobs is very talented, but as far as like receiving backs goes, he's never had a guy like this.
There you have it. I love it. I love the call, Schultze. I love all our calls on this show today. And wrap it up here, bigz. Let's send our viewers into, first week of July with some heat.
Hey, if you want to see more of this pretty face, go ahead and like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff. If you hate Schultze's dumb face, go ahead and like, subscribe, hit the bell. And if you're just ambivalent to Mike, go ahead and like, subscribe, hit the bell. We will see you next week when we'll talk about more things football related. And in the meantime, we hope you win.
Hope you win, folks.
Hope you win.